5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And it's live.
This is Leicester Till I Die TV. Watch and subscribe on YouTube and listen on your podcast platform.
There I am. Sorry, I forgot to pop my Viagra. There we go. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, good night, good day, goodbye. Hello, how are you? It's been ages. Been absolutely. I tell you what. If YouTube was female, and it may well be, depends how often it goes down, I guess. But if YouTube was female, my wife could have... Yes, I'm sorry about that, Tom. My wife would probably accuse me of having an affair. I'm on it this much. I can't believe I just said that. You know what? I don't care anymore. I really don't care. Hey, guess what? Cooper's been sacked. Wherever you are in the world, welcome along. This is LTID TV 1 from Leicester Till I Die. Thank you for joining us live on YouTube, if that is how you are watching. If you're watching on catch-up, thanks a lot for joining us. Either way, add your comments in, whether it's live or later. If you're watching, I'll say on catch-up in the description below. And if you are listening via your favourite podcast platform, thank you for lending me your ears. Honestly, I've spoken that much, and I was back on the radio this morning as well, so I've spoken even more, and that all went tits up as well. So I don't know where I'm going. I've got to be honest with you. Look, we're going to be talking Leicester City versus Chelsea. We're going to go through, that is our first game. We're obviously going to have some featured games, and then we'll go through the last games quite quickly. And then at the end with the news section, I went on TalkSport earlier. I was on TalkSport too, and I'm going to upload the clip either later on today or tomorrow. And the guy that messaged me, Jack from TalkSport, he said, "Can you come on?" I said, "Well, have you got anything to talk about?" He said, "If only we had." He said, maybe they ran out of chips in the canteen. I don't know, but we managed to get through and have a chat. This is, believe it or not, the weekend review, and I haven't actually loaded the bid up, which is a bit annoying because, like I say, I forgot to do it. So I'm going to load this up.
The TalkSport Fan Network is the ultimate on-demand destination for the UK's best fan-led football podcasts,
including Leicester Till I Die, independent analysis and reaction for the Foxes faithful.
The TalkSport Fan Network.
Unbeatable club-dedicated content created by the fans, for the fans.
Follow the podcast on the TalkSport Fan Network.
Tom, hello, sir. How are you?
I'm great, Chris. How are you after your 24 hours? This literally has been the channel where you've got to be, because you've been on BBC, TalkSport, you've been everywhere from a man who was sat on his sofa watching TV. But
I'm trying to sit on my sofa and watch TV. Line of Duty, Series 4, Episode 1, that's when it all kicked off. I tell you what, I'm knackered. I'm absolutely knackered.
I could tell, mate, I'll have to carry this one for the both of us, but respect you, mate, for someone who wasn't expecting what happened from Saturday to Sunday to shift so dramatically. And here we are on a Monday, just like, what has gone on?
You know, the last time, and it didn't even happen with Rodgers, but when we got rid of Pearson, that was another one where I'm not sure it was the first. I think it must have been the second time, and it happened sort of late on a Sunday evening, And
Can I tell you my experience of that one? I was living in
please
Canada.
do.
I was
Please
living in
do.
Canada at that point, so I was in Windsor, Ontario, staying around some lovely people's houses, and I got a message through on the website at 11 o'clock in the morning Canadian time saying Pearson had been sacked, and I turned to my girlfriend at the time, her mum, and I said, I can't believe it, because the first day she met me was the day we beat Man United at the King Power with Vardy scoring that amazing, so it was an amazing sort of bit of history for me and how it correlated with my life. But yes, I remember that well. It was quite a shocking one at the same time.
Yes, yeah, indeed. Look, I'm just going to say, talking about me being everywhere, all over, my middle name's Marge because I'm spreading myself that thinly. Chatting City will be back as a special tomorrow at 11 o'clock. I was going to do it as a pre-record, but we're going at 11 o'clock anyway. So, look, YouTube, it's like BBC ITV. You don't have to be live because you can always play it back on catch-up. I will be talking to Rob Tanner, LCFC correspondent, used to be at the Mercury. We'll be talking what's going on at Leicester. And as you can see there, or you may not be able to see, but it's actually Coon Top and Steve Cooper there and saying, well, that's another fine mess you've got me into, which I thought was as apt as I could get it, But 11 a.m. in the morning, if anybody isn't working, to tune in or tune in on catch up. Let's just say a few hellos before we get going. Ronald, good evening. John, evening all. John, hasn't there been a mod? Oh, hasn't it been a mad last 20? Mad, mate. Totally chaos. Thing is, when they do it on a Sunday, and whether they do it, this is why they do it on a Sunday. And look, we're going to talk more about the actual sacking because we want to talk about the game first, but more about the sacking later. But everybody was out. You were with your family, other people were having Sunday dinner. I mean, it was like, for them, it's like, you know what they say, like, always put bad news out when it's a busy news day. It's a bit like always put it out on a Sunday.
Yeah. They do, especially when Man United are playing and there's a new manager.
Exactly.
Yeah. Sorry about that, mate. It's been the weather this weekend.
Tell me about it. Tell me. My show went down in the middle of the radio show this morning. Halfway through my Cheryl Baker interview, it just cut off.
Yeah.
I had to get it back up.
Mate. It's amazing because how does it affect it? But it seems to be worse when it's absolutely hammering down with rain. You think it's wires under the ground. What is this sort of?
You can't win, can you? You can't win.
Get Bill Gates in right now to sort this out.
Exactly. Craig, we'll come on to that towards the end. Rich from United TV. Mate, how are you doing? Surprised, about as surprised as you were when they sacked Ten Hag. Did you just say that? I don't think it was the world's worst kept secret. And Wayne is in. Hi, Wayne. Maybe with Chris being Billy Bollocks, you'll get a word in edgeways, Tom. What are you saying, Wayne? I am not Paddy. Don't get me wrong. I may live near Bournemouth, but I am not Paddy. So, how very dare you, sir? Right, we're here to talk football games.
We are.
The early kickoff on Saturday morning. We know which one it was.
Yeah.
And those are the featured games. Sorry, I should just say we are going to start with Leicester. You had a great game to watch, Man City, Tottenham. And then we're going to get video reviews from an Arsenal fan and a Liverpool fan about their games as well. In fact, the Arsenal fan's from Toronto in Canada. So...
mate, that is bizarre. What a bizarre thing. And also, bear in mind, when I left on the international break, we had some ice hockey games coming up. We won 5 of 6. We're planning the parade.
Oh, hey, well done. I've no idea what that means.
6 first-team players are injured, still smashing it up. Come on, Toronto.
You wouldn't get that in down Filbert Way, would you?
Not at all. That's why it's so frustrating, mate.
Yeah. Look, 2-1. This was as bad as it gets, and we'll talk about the timing of the sacking later because I thought it would have gone before over the 2-week break, but maybe they have something in mind. They're denying it, but who knows? This, and I tended to disagree. Well, Brad disagreed with me, and he's got to accept that he's wrong. But he said that that we fought our way back into this game. I didn't think that. I thought that they took their foot off the pedal, either knowingly or unknowingly, because you don't do that at 1-0 up. But if they'd had their shooting boots on, that would have been all over by half time.
Yeah, it's interesting because they never had to get out of first or second gear, Chelsea. That is the reality of it. I get what Brad is saying because there were decisions in this game we can question and we can go, that didn't go in our favour. But I think the interesting thing is there's a lot of Leicester fans not doing that. And I think the reason why is because the overall principle of Steve Cooper and the style of football, which obviously was heightened on the Sunday by his dismissal, has overrode the entire process of maybe we didn't have a penalty with Mavididi, maybe we didn't have this, maybe we didn't have that. And I think that is the more important point here coming out of this weekend. We went into this game with Chelsea expecting very little and sadly got a lot less than that.
That is the point, isn't it? I mean, we had one shot on target, and that actually sounds better than it is because Sanchez, their goalkeeper, did not have one save to make. He will never have an easier game all season, will he?
No, exactly. And my point is, ironically, he's a goalkeeper you want to pepper, even from distance, because he's known to have a blunder in him. So why don't you take advantage of it and go, guys, this guy's known to drop a ball. Let's get on the last line of defence. Let's put balls into him. Let's make him under pressure. We didn't see any pressure at all. Chelsea, they were laughing when they missed an open goal, Chris. They were only one goal ahead. That summed it up. They knew the game was over.
Yeah, they did. And even the commentator, and I think depending what stream you were watching it via, my commentator had a female co-commentator, and they were both saying, like you said about the referee, he's got a mistake in him. Now, if commentators are saying that, and to be honest with you, I think it was midway through the first half, he did make a mistake and nearly drop a clanger. Why can't somebody who's supposed to be able to be tactically on top of things at the sideline, why can't he see that and say to them? Jamie Vardy, first half, had 4 touches. Now, normally I'd be going mad, but it's not his fault, is it?
No, it's not at all. No. Vardy has become a very intelligent footballer and a very good leader of this football club. And I think this is an interesting caveat of the situation, because a lot of football clubs right now and their supporters will look at the situation and they will go, the players have outed the manager. However, it is kind of different with Leicester City, and I would stress that to neutral fans watching us right now. We've had a lot of success with a core group of players that have led by example set up from Nigel Pearson back many, many years ago.
Yeah.
And you don't always in life, and you had it in your own jobs where you go in under a new manager and that manager doesn't inspire you, doesn't come in, doesn't really add anything to the table which you haven't already known, and actually takes you back a step. And I think, unfortunately, that is kind of the situation we have faced. And it's a difficult one because I look at the players' effort and I go, I think they've given the amount of effort for what Steve Cooper wanted, but I don't think they believed that was the right amount of effort. I think they believed they should have been doing something differently. And you could see that in the performance. I mean, Chelsea, 2 out of 10, but they still won comfortably.
Yeah, they did, totally. And that is probably more damning for us than them.
Absolutely.
I don't think they'll have an easier game. And I'm not going to go on about the possession because everyone will say, quite rightly, that we won the league with the least possession that has ever had the league won before. But 4 shots. Look, Ipswich got a draw with Man United and could have nicked it, to be honest with you.
I think my prediction was solid, mate. I think my 2-1 to Ipswich was probably the most sensible prediction of everyone, and I still came bottom.
Yeah, we still got it wrong.
Well, but, on another day, carry on.
No, but it wasn't another day. In fact, I'm sorry, mate. Seeing as you've given it so large, I'm going to have to give you this. I think I just need to find it first of all.
Okay, you called the 1-1. We get it. It's fantastic.
No. I'm just going to say
your opinion is wrong.
There you go. I'm just going to leave it at that. And
I respect Sean Locke. It's fine. I agree.
Yeah, Wolves 4-1 against Fulham. Obviously, we'll talk about that later. They've won a couple now. Palace managed to get a draw. Even Southampton, and I'm no disrespect to Southampton, but they are the work. They're down at the bottom for a reason.
Yeah.
even they nearly nicked it at Liverpool. We've got 2 wins this season where we've been very lucky in both of them, and one of those was against the bottom team. That was a worry. We weren't getting any better, probably even worse, but the teams below us were getting better. Now, I said over the weekend that we needed 3 teams to be worse than us this year.
Yeah.
Yes, there was one which was Southampton. Can I say, after that game, you can't even say that they will fall into that category.
No, Chris, and that is a very good point you've raised there. I think that's very important when neutrals
occasionally, not very often.
No. I think your writing's very good as well, mate. I'm a writer myself, so I really enjoy that. But no, I think it's interesting.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Neutrals, like, we'll look at Leicester and they'll throw shade at us and go, what expectations does this football club have, these supporters have? I have an expectation of a level of an Ipswich or Southampton supporter.
Yeah.
And this weekend we saw both of them, irrelevant of whatever result they independently got, show up and turn up in a certain manner which was going to give them the best shot and at least get the crowd behind them in what they're trying to achieve, irrelevant of the outcome. At Leicester City Football Club, that has not been the case, and that is a bigger problem than results. That's a bigger problem than being in 17th over 18th and going, well, we're there. We've not got anywhere yet. We need an identity, Chris, desperately.
No, totally. Round pegs in square holes, because, the one decent chance fell to Ndidi, and you're like, oh, God. And don't even get me started on Ndidi. I had my rant on Saturday.
I'm sorry, he should have been sent off. I mean, I'm a Leicester fan, but I'm going to be honest here. I can see every reason why Chelsea would be aggrieved he didn't get sent off. Ultimately, it didn't matter because they won anyway. But it was no different than the one in the Brentford game when Norgard got sent off on Pickford. No different. Exactly the same incident.
Totally right. He should have been sent off. There's arguments other ways. I mean, and I'm not going to get into the process and say, well, the referee was bad. He did make some bad decisions, but for our penalty, he got it spot on because he called it. He called that before the linesman put his flag up. And fair play. I mean, he didn't even go to the monitor, did they? The referee. Well, I suppose VAR was saying your first call was correct.
I think it's interesting because I think this shows you that instance of those 2 penalty decisions that were given and weren't given. I think that shows you the effect of energy, momentum, and a stadium on a referee. I think the first one was potentially a penalty. I think the only reason it wasn't given was because of Mavridivi's natural foot movement, which happened to look like he was diving when actually he did get caught. He was going to get caught. So I think you could argue that was a penalty. I think you can go 50-50. And the second one, I think he gave instinctively because he didn't give the first one. And actually, he happened to be right, but I think there is a little bit of lean towards that. And actually, if he'd given the first one, the second one was a penalty, we might have nicked a point, Chris.
Wouldn't have been deserved, I have to say.
I'm not saying that, but we would have nicked a point.
No, I agree. But then again, had the first one gone in, Chelsea might just have stepped up a gear. Who knows? Who knows? Do you remember when we won the Premier League, as if we'd ever forget it? And I think it was West Ham, where we didn't get a penalty.
Vardy,
and then there was a very dubious. I mean, with Vardy, you've got to love him. Every time he got a penalty, or even gets a penalty, I have to have a look at it and go, yeah. But look, he does what he does well. And
that season, Chris, we won more penalties than any other side, so they were obviously going to be watching us like a hawk at the end of the season, weren't we? Because let's be frank, Mahrez won so many penalties because he was unplayable.
Yes, yeah. No,
not because he was lively; it's because you couldn't deal with it.
But do you remember in that game? I mean, I think was it a foul on Schlupp for the second one?
It was
dubious whether it was. I think it was that. Was it in? Was it out? It was on the line, and he gave that one because I think it was again the early one on Huth. I think it was. It was Huth. I could be wrong, but wasn't given when that was more of a Stonewall penalty than the Schlupp one.
Agreed. So you could argue the fans won us a point there. Ultimately won the Premier League by more, but that point at the time in the scenario was actually very important for the narrative for Tottenham. So.
Yes. No, 100%. Like I say, things have changed now. Things we would have been talking about had we still got Cooper in. I mean, I'm doing a show tomorrow, the Chatting City Tuesday debate show, and they said, like, what we're going to talk about, because we're going to have done Cooper to death by then. As we said, well, we could rate the players on, and I went, well, there's no point really, because
no, there is no point. No, because it's just terrible.
It's just going to, but it's going to be whoever's in charge, and it could still be the coach, the first team coach, whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's all going to be different. So, we can't judge on that totally, because everything's going to change round. But I understand why he's done it, and I say we'll come on to it later, but we do need, like you say, we need an identity. We need round pegs in round holes. We need, somebody that's going to say, yes, I want experienced players, so I'm not going to keep my most experienced defender out for 6 weeks. And I'm going to want, strikers up front that are young and hungry and can still run, and not rely on Indeedy to be the one that misses it. But
yeah. Well, Chris, let me tell you a quick story here. Right. Okay. So last summer we appoint Enzo Maresca, right? Because Top has a vision for how he wants Leicester City to play. So we go on and win the championship with that vision. There was times it looked a little bit shaky, but it was a bold vision and it did the job and it got us to where we wanted to get to. Then that vision gets taken away from us. We weren't expecting it. It happened. It's life. Yeah. When a vision goes well, sometimes other people want it.
Yeah.
The problem has come from the appointment subsequent to that. And I think this is a lesson Leicester City need to learn that Brighton learned 5 years ago. And that is that if you are doing successful and playing successful football, and especially if you've got a different identity, you're going to be attractive and you're going to be up for the bigger teams to look at you. So you need to have a succession plan in place. I think Cooper's appointment showed there wasn't a proper succession plan in place, because it's now coming up that Top wasn't invested in the original decision in the first place, and now he's doubling down, which I prefer, because I prefer for us now to go, right, we've actually got 3 favourites to take over the manager's job who are 3 different styles of manager. So we've now got an ability to double down on the Cooper scenario with a more composed version in Moyes. We've got the idea to go down a route of a Brighton with a Ruud van Nistelrooy. He's going to be a bit more expansive and maybe get something more out of the players. And then we've got Potter, who maybe can come back after a few turning down. It's like we've asked out the same girl 3 times as you said no, but we've got all the facilities in place with the new training centre to really suit him as a manager and what he wants as a side builder.
Well, you have frozen there, mate. I don't know whether you finished.
I think it's interesting where we are right now, and I think it comes. Sorry, mate, I lost you at the end there, but I hope you got the main point of the message.
I got you, mate. You were freezing, and between us, it's like let it go. But look, let me just say that I went 3-1 for that one. You went.
I went 5-1.
This was your 1 point. You feel about peaking early, mate. I think you need some Viagra. You went 5-1, but at least you got a point for the away win.
Which is remarkable when you think about it. Yeah,
it is. Like I say, I wish you were in the league, mate. You'd make me look good.
Doesn't it show you how little faith I had in Cooper that I thought this game, even he couldn't get a 2-1 defeat out of it?
No, exactly. Well, I think even the most optimistic fans were only going for a draw. I was on Talk Sport earlier, like we said, and one of the presenters, Rory, he's a Chelsea fan, huge Chelsea fan, and in fairness, he asked me about Enzo, and I said, look, once I got past the, you're going off a bit early, sinking ships stuck to mind. But then I'm thinking, well, look, he has only got so many job offers. It may not come round again if he sticks with us. He's only doing what we would do in our jobs. And he's doing better than I thought he was. So it did hurt me to admit that, but I had to. But look, we'll come back to Leicester at the end of the show. We'll come back to Cooper at the end of the show. Our next match now, what I picked for you here. I mean, five games lost on a row, gets a 1 year extension. That's sort of top work, isn't it? You know what I mean? What? Maddison on fire?
Yeah.
What? I didn't see it. What happened?
Well, I think it was one of those where all the times I talked about Ange and how he is completely set in a certain way of playing, in a similar way to Southampton, ironically, it worked because Man City are lacking certain players like Rodri still. So consequently, their passing was, especially in the transition phase, absolutely abysmal. And that is completely what caught Man City out. They've ended up in a position where Haaland's ended up out of form for a couple of games, and it's causing them a problem because he's not bailing them out. And then you've got the problem of sloppy midfield play because Rodri's not there. And Tottenham completely, with the way they set up, being a high-line team and literally committing to that to the point where we've been questioning the sanity of it, bearing in mind the results it's garnered them now and again against Crystal Palace, for example. Even ourselves, when they dropped a couple of points. But today it really suited them and it really played into their hands. And it was a worthy win. And actually, it was the worst game Man City could have faced at this time, apart from next week.
Who have they got next week? Oh, Liverpool, haven't they?
Liverpool, which is difficult.
I mean, from what you're saying, then I am. Sorry, just pressed that too soon.
I was going to say I covered it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Tottenham smashed them, and they were very good and very well worth it as well. Man City had chances though, Chris. Let's put it this way: Man City weren't as bad as people would think from the 4-0 scoreline. In some ways, Guardiola is a problem for them in a good way because he's so eager to get forward as a centre back, as almost like a wide centre back going forward. He gets caught out of position, then Tottenham score a goal. But you think at least he's trying to score a goal when they're struggling.
Yeah.
It's difficult.
They are now, is it 8 points behind Liverpool? It is 8 points. If they lose next weekend, that's 11 points behind Liverpool. Now, I did actually, because I was going to disagree, but I didn't get the chance because they were before I went on to the TalkSport, they were talking about, Manchester City aren't going to come back from this, blah, blah, blah. 16 points, Man United were behind Newcastle. In the famous, I'd love it season. I'd love it.
If they beat them,
16 points. So it's not over, is it?
No, I don't think it is. And I tell you why. And that's because Liverpool are still showing signs of susceptibility as well. So far, they've navigated it well, but there are no guarantees. And I was thinking about this earlier, Chris, when it comes to Premier League predictions, you know how we all predict an ideal end of league season table? Yeah. I was thinking my thought process for how I predict it has always been wrong. And I tell you what I'm meaning. It's never about an entire season for a football club. It's always about 4 quarters. There's always a quarter where a team is doing this, there's a quarter where a team is facing this, and a quarter where a team is facing this. The first quarter now, Liverpool are playing the best football in the Premier League by a country mile, and they're where they are on merit. Will that continue? We actually don't know. We're assuming so, but I'm not entirely convinced because the way the Premier League's been this season, the way it's been throwing up surprises every week, I think there's still a chance things will change.
That's blaming why I'm bottom of the prediction league. Because
it's probably the same as me, mate, as well, because I'm quite ambitious, as you could see. So,
oh, definitely. Well, I actually went. I agreed with you. We both went 3-1 to Manchester City. What do we know?
I thought Haaland was going to have his game today, but I guarantee you something. I will stand by this. In the next couple of games, he's going to score 4 or 5 goals in one of them.
Do you think Man City go out and break the bank in the January transfer window?
I think they should. And I'll tell you why, because when you look at people like Lewis being the main central midfielder, they'd probably be better off with Calvin Phillips, which shows you the problems they've got in a lack of depth. Gundogan's come back. He's not looking the player he was 2 years previously. He's obviously lost something in a year. It's life. It happens. So I think actually they need to. And I think if they don't do it, I think they'll regret it.
Right. Mike is in. How we do, Mike? How you doing? Cheers, Mike. Yeah. At the moment we're fine, but yeah, I'll keep you in mind. We're going to have plenty of shows coming up, I tell you, with what's been going on at Leicester. So thank you very much for the kind officer. Right, let's go to the next game, which you saw there because I pressed the wrong button. Arsenal, Nottingham Forest.
Shocked me.
Yeah, we went, both of us, for a draw. I actually went for a Desmond. And
so you're giving me all this rubbish, mate. You've gone for exactly the same scores as me, generally.
Give me a chance. You peaked. I haven't peaked yet. My peak is still to come. But I went for a Desmond. You went for a 0-0. Very surprised at Forest. But look, everybody that knows Miss Melina, she's a lovely. In fact, I say lives in Toronto. May well be going to see her next year if I actually do get to go to Canada. I'm wondering, it's either Canada or a new bathroom at the moment.
Chris, if you want me to be your PA, I'll go with you. I know the entire city. I'll take you around where you want to go, my friend. Literally, take me.
Well, I would take you, but I can't pay for you. That's the problem.
Leave that with me. Leave that with me.
I might do. I might do that.
I'm due to go back, mate.
Okay, right. So anyway, Miss Melina, that's the name of her channel. She's a huge Arsenal fan. Last time we spoke to her was a couple of seasons ago when we were in the Premier League and she'd just beaten Arsenal again, so she's getting used to it. But look, she sent the video reporting. Let's have a listen and see what she has to say.
Hi everyone, this video is me celebrating our 3 points back to winning ways and back on track against Nottingham Forest at home. Arsenal won 3-0, keeping a clean sheet at home, which we haven't done since nearly 3 months ago now. But Arsenal finally back to winning ways, 3 points on the board. Goal scorers, goal and assist from Starboy Bukayo Saka, Thomas Partey's wonderful left foot strike, and of course 17-year-old Ethan Nwaneri getting his first Premier League goal at that age. Really proud of this team. We could have got more. Of course, Urian Timber's goal was disallowed for being an offside. It was a clear indication of offside, so I'm not going to even complain about that. But Arsenal could have had really a lot more goals in this game. Nottingham Forest were really cut open. They had not really any defensive awareness in this game, and it was so easy for Arsenal to go through, even with some of our key players like Declan Rice, Kai Havertz on the bench. We rested some players, and now Arsenal have a game every 3 days for the next upcoming months. There are fixtures coming thick and fast, and we're going to see a rotated squad, especially considering we're still in all the domestic cups. The FA Cup to start in February, as well as the Champions League. We're still continuing our campaign in the group stages, as we have Sporting Lisbon away midweek. Chris, thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about my team's performance. I do think we could have scored more goals if we had taken our chances. I was happy with the lineup. A lot of people initially, when they saw the lineup, they questioned why we rotated heavily, why we were giving players like Havertz, Thomas Partey, and also Declan Rice was rested because he was dealing with a foot injury in the previous game. I agree with the rotated squad, and it did work out. Jorginho was good in the first half, alongside Gabriel Jesus trying to set up Bukayo Saka for a goal. Odegaard back in the squad. He's the bread and butter of this team. He's the glue that keeps everything together, and he's the one that makes everything tick in midfield in terms of our creativity and having a free-flowing attack. So I want the world to know that although it's just one game, Arsenal are back to winning ways on the board, and it was much needed for our hopes in this long season ahead. Yes, I know Liverpool are currently top of the league and maintain top of the league with a clear distance, but we have to continue to win our games. The next couple of games we have are winnable. Yes, we have West Ham away next at the London Stadium. Taking each game one game at a time as they come, and expect to see more rotations with our starting 11 and some key players rested, especially if we have more knocks and slight injuries in the team. That's the only concern. Every team does have injuries, but it's how well you cope with your bench players being used, and the drop-off not so significant with the bench players in the starting 11. I was also happy with the performance from Jorginho in that game against Forest. Jorginho did well. He doesn't necessarily get a lot of game time, even though he renewed his contract extension. He hasn't really been getting a lot of game time, even with Sterling coming on. You saw in the game against Preston in the Cup, it's a different competition, I understand, but Sterling has always tried to set up Ethan Nwaneri or assist Ethan Nwaneri. The link-up play that those two have together when they're on the pitch together transpires on the pitch, and you can see how fluid it is. Both of them make it look so effortless on the pitch. The same thing with the link of Martin Odegaard and Bukayo Saka. You know that Martin Odegaard was really missed, truly missed in this team. He deserved every minute, every second of that standing ovation that he got at the Emirates when he was subbed off. Martin Odegaard directly impacting the game as soon as he came back from injury just a few weeks ago with a goal and assist. I think he provided 2 assists now since he came back from injury and also back on the score sheet for Arsenal. Bukayo Saka, what more do I say? Foden has been non-existent. All these comparisons of Foden and Bukayo Saka have gone really quiet now, and I'm glad. Let's continue on the score sheet on the rise with confidence. We do have a game midweek now in Europe. Hopefully we continue this momentum, but it is going to get more difficult. We have some good run of fixtures, and hopefully we can take the best advantage of this with other teams considering to drop points like Man City, who have just lost 5 games in a row. So-called mentality monsters losing 5 in a row. I'm really proud of this team. I'm proud of Ethan getting his first Premier League goal at 17 years old. At 17 years old, I was probably playing video games or outside playing football, but not scoring for the Premier League, that's for sure. And neither were you guys watching this, so I'm really proud of him. Hope he gets more game time in the cup games or even in the league when we're already on winning ways. It's good to bring him into the team and get him more involved. He's showing that he's ready, and he's showing what he is capable of. But back to winning ways. Come on, you Gunners. And next up, we have a wounded Lopetegui's West Ham at the London Stadium. Hopefully we'll win. I'm quite confident for that game. And come on, you Gunners. Let's continue this momentum on to the rest of the season. Thanks, Chris, for asking me to do this video.
Thank you, Mel. I think she needs to, just ease off on the microphone, being as close.
Hey, an intense fan. I loved it. And she nailed a lot of the points that I would have said. Fair play to her.
Gotta say, she comes over a fair amount. She isn't just like in Canada and she actually comes over. In fact, she saw a couple of seasons ago the Nottingham Forest. That was 4-0, I think. She is a huge gunner, and all totally respect. And as I always do, please do get over everybody and check out Miss Molina's channel. She doesn't just do football and Arsenal. She does Premier League in general, and I think she might do a little bit, because she's got other presenters, she might do a little bit of ice hockey as well.
I have to look at it myself, Chris, because obviously being a Toronto like I am, that I've got to have a look. So,
exactly. No, she's a lovely girl, and I have to say that I wouldn't be where I am today on this channel if it hadn't been for Melina. She was a great help when I was setting up. I mean, can they still consider themselves in the race?
I think they shouldn't for the moment, and I don't mean that in a negative way, Chris. I think their focus now should be on replicating what they did against Nottingham Forest, because it's been my entire moan all season about the 1-0 to the Arsenal with VAR decisions is not going to win you a Premier League.
No.
And you can't rely on this anymore. And they performed incredibly well against Forest. Their performance, really, I thought they handled the game really well. I've not seen Forest under that amount of pressure this season. And I think it's a game a year ago that Arsenal might have struggled to get anything beyond a point from, which is why I put a draw down. But I was proven completely by surprise in a good way. I think it's a good step forward for Arsenal, but, do it again next week. It's more important to do it again next week against West Ham.
It is. And looking at Forest, everybody was going, how good they were. And, they deservedly beat us. And obviously it hurts me to give Forest praise, but I have to be fair and say they got up into the Champions League place on merit. You're not there if you're not winning games. And, you can argue like we did, and we won the league, that, well, Man City were off and Liverpool appointed new manager, but it doesn't matter. You can only play what's on, out there in front of you. And Forest deserve to be where they deserved to be. But like I say, are they now? Has their shot been blown, so to speak?
Well, it's a good reminder of what's important, isn't it? And I think the way they fell down in this game was they weren't willing enough to push their own game enough. And despite being away from home, you still got to do that now and again. They can defend. They're very capable of it. But if they're constantly doing it for the amount of time they were in this game, you're going to get caught out. You've got to balance the game. I think the one thing Forest and Aston Villa are kind of in similar positions right now. They've both kind of taken a couple of setbacks in the last 2 weeks in particular, but they're not in a bad position. They just need to realise the balance of what they're trying to do versus the results they're getting. And I just think they need to focus on that a bit more. I think they were too actually nice to Arsenal, to be honest.
I've got to say, they're still sat in seventh.
It's fine. This is my point. It's not a worry, is it? But it is actually, ironically, a better result for Arsenal than it is for Forest, because it's a sort of game a year ago. Like I say, you expect Arsenal to maybe slip up a bit because they're not far behind them, but they've actually dominated this one at home. And I'd say to Arsenal now, take this into every game, for goodness sake. Do not be, putting yourself in a position where VAR is going to ruin your season. Put yourself in a position where you can control it. And there is signs of Man City slipping, and we're not convinced Liverpool can do it yet. We haven't got to Liverpool Southampton yet, Chris, but we've said about this, haven't we? It wasn't, there's still space. There's still space for things to change.
There is. Hi there, Scott. How are you doing? Welcome along, mate. Hope you are well and enjoying the good news. And like he says there, please, everybody, make sure you smash the like button. Thank you very much indeed. Right, talking of Liverpool, coming up next, we're going to have another video review in a minute. They did make hard work of it, but at the end of the day, it's games like this that will decide whether you win the league or not. Not the. Let's say, for example, they beat Leicester 5-0. That's not going to decide whether these are the games that decide where they have to dig deep and they have to get a game. I feel sorry for Southampton. Southampton do remind me. Well, Southampton are what I would want Leicester to be like, because yes, they are losing, but the last couple of weeks they've gone for it. Even against us, they went for it, and it reminds me, like you said, that Pearson first time back in the Premier League, where we were losing games, but we at least that showed that we had some balls. If only the current team could do that. But let's have a look what Doug, who did it for a couple of weeks for us, and thank Doug very much, because this was going to be an Aston Villa report, but the gentleman had to do some babysitting, and obviously family always have to come first. So Doug stood in. This is what he said, having watched the Southampton Liverpool game.
Southampton 2, Liverpool 3 at St Mary's on Sunday. The Reds go 8 points clear, which is a very, very good position to be in. However, doesn't really mean anything just now with the way that things are going. Before this game, I thought this was going to be a very, very difficult game. When you look at what Southampton have done recently, going to the Etihad and only losing 1-0, taking the lead against Arsenal, and then obviously going on to lose 3-1. I knew it'd be a very, very difficult game, and especially at St Mary's. Obviously, they've already beaten one Merseyside team in Everton, and I thought going into this game it would be a very, very tricky game. So, and you usually get that with international breaks, don't you? You usually do get that with international breaks, but not the best performance. But we got the job done in the end. Obviously, goals from Szoboszlai. If Southampton are wanting to stay in the league, then they need to stop giving opposition gifts, because Southampton have literally gave Liverpool that win to this weekend. You've got to say, obviously, first goal, McCarthy plays it out to, I think it was Aribo, plays it to Flynn Downs, and the one thing you don't do if you're a goalkeeper when you're under the cosh is play it straight to your midfielder to then play it straight back to the other midfielder in their box and go straight to Dominic Szoboszlai, and it's a fantastic finish, real good finish, and he needs to be adding goals to his game. He definitely needs to be adding goals to his game as well. And then obviously Southampton get back into the game. Debatable penalty. If your foot is on the line, then obviously the line does consist of the penalty box. But I think you have to say that if that was my team, I would probably be probably be shouting for that. So yeah, look, Southampton got the penalty. Kelleher saved it from Adam Armstrong, but couldn't do anything about the second one. To be fair, he nearly did save it. He did nearly save it. I had to say the very, very least. So 1-1 half time. Disappointing, but usually when we do come out in the second half, we usually do come out and show what we're all about. Well, Southampton did take the lead. A lovely ball from, obviously, Tyler Diblin. I've got to say, I think he is a real talent. That Diblin on the right wing, real good talent. I think if Southampton go down, I think he could be another one that could be poached away from Southampton. Lovely ball, Mateus Fernandes, 2-1. Very good finish. And then, again, enemies of the road down for Southampton. Gravenberch to Salah. Where is Alex McCarthy going? The goalkeeper has gone absolute walkies here. I don't know what he's thinking. Salah touches it and it goes into the back of the net. It's simple as that. And then, 3-2 comes, and I think if you're a defender, you would be very, very disappointed with this. I mean, it could have easily been given with the pull on Darwin Núñez. Could have easily been given for that, but it was obviously given for the handball. And his arm is in a unnatural position as well. So yeah, and Salah does what Salah does best, and that is another fantastic finish from Mohamed Salah. 2 goals again, absolutely amazing. And give this man what he wants, because honestly, we need to keep him. We need to keep him. It's as simple as that. He's the best player in the Premier League for me, has been for a number of years, and the amount of goals he's got is absolutely unbelievable, to say the very, very least. But big week ahead. I mean, it's a magnificent week ahead. Real Madrid on Wednesday, that's a huge game. And then Manchester City. We all know what Manchester City are going through at the moment. 5 defeats on the bounce. Win that, potentially go 11 points clear. That would be absolutely insane at this stage of the season, to go 11 points clear. And look, I keep saying nothing is won in December, but to be 11 points clear of Manchester City would be huge. So big week to come, but a fantastic win at St Mary's, and another one for Arne Slot's men.
They got it right with the manager, didn't they?
Pretty good.
Again, I think if we could get a nice combination of Mel's microphone and Doug's microphone, would be perfect there. I've got to say, he did say, if your foot is on the line. I thought he was going to follow that with, if your foot is on the line, then your foot's on David Coote's head. But that might have been unfair. Allegedly, I should say. But
might have been necessary. Allegedly.
No, it's not. It is very necessary, let's be honest. But no. Again, I think he pretty much summed it up, didn't he? And LCFC there says, I watched that Southampton game and Anacho up front for Southampton had a class game.
Yeah, I'll tell you what it is. It's Liverpool's credit should come from the fact they faced adversity better than any other side this year, because every top 6 team has kind of had some sort of adversity to face. Liverpool have just brushed it off like it's nothing. They've been very composed. And if you compare where we were with Cooper, I know it's, completely different, but new manager coming in, new manager Liverpool believe in, new manager Liverpool get behind. They see what he's doing. They get results. And actually, Southampton, like you say, I've had issues around Russell Martin because he's going full Vincent Kompany. He's got a system he's going to play, and he's going to play it to death. However, give him a transfer window with £75 million and a couple of extra bits of quality in that team, and all of a sudden, mate, they might do a great escape. So I didn't think your reference was too bad in regard to Pearson. I was going to suggest a similar with Ipswich Town and Leicester from those days right now. There's that buzz about these two teams. And it's also not to go back to Leicester too much, but I'm quite happy we sacked Cooper this weekend, because the vibration coming from the teams below us is much more positive. I think Southampton actually shouldn't be too worried as of yet again. because they're kind of doing the right thing. It's individual moments they're lacking on, and we'll get to the Ipswich game later, but it's not too dissimilar. And I think there is a path for success there as long as they can sort of rein it in a little bit.
Yeah, and I've got, like you say, my worry for Southampton is they may bring players in, but they may lose some players as well. And when you're down there, they may look at that and think, well, we need to get the money in. If there's so many options, we don't know what's going to happen. But like you say, I wish we could have shown the fighting spirit that they did. 11 points clear, they could go, Liverpool. And like Doug said, nothing's won in December. But look, if we remember last year in the Championship where we were, and it's harder actually being ahead than it is trying to catch up. And Kevin Keegan will say this from when he was at Newcastle. And I thought this last season that 17 points clear, you lose a game, you think, well we're still 14 points clear. All right, you lose another one, we're still 11 points. I think I'd sooner be playing well, I know it's a bit silly to say, but I think sometimes playing catch-up's a little bit easier.
Yeah, let me throw something out there which might be quite controversial now in the moment we are all sitting in. Before the end of the season, it wouldn't surprise me if Liverpool went 5 games without winning. And I don't mean that in a way of like, I think they're a bad side. I think they're a very good side. I think so far it's worked out in their favour, the way things have unfolded. And they've shown good resilience. But on another day, Southampton could have had a penalty. They could have had this. They could have had that. Yeah. And it might have changed the game. And Man City seem to be in that vibration right now where it's going against them. Liverpool have been in a vibration where it's going for them, excluding Forest, which was a one-off. Yeah. So this is the great thing about the Premier League this year, is that the way it's kind of sized up and ended up with manager appointments and who's where at what time, it's given us a scenario where we're seeing almost like the end of an era of football with Guardiola, potentially, if he can't sort it out. And the new emergence of the slot style, maybe the Amarin style if we get there a year down the line. Obviously, we haven't got to that game yet, but not quite there yet, but a long way to go. But my point is that there's still a long way to go, Chris, like you're saying. I think right now Liverpool look very good. I don't think we should be handing them the trophy by any means, because I still think Haaland could turn up and score a hat-trick at any minute. And I still think Arsenal, if they can win 6 games in a row winning 3-0, we've got a Premier League title race, haven't we?
Yes. Oh, yes. And let's be honest with you. You don't know what's going to happen, and you write Man City off this early at your peril.
Absolutely.
We always know Man City are slow starters. And if you said to me, Chris, you'll be sat here at the end of November, and Mo Salah and De Bruyne have got contracts that run out in the summer, and they've not signed them yet. I was saying, you'd be thinking of Tielemans there, not De Bruyne and Salah.
Yeah. I mean, I was going to say, Chris, quickly, did you hear about how Salah said he's surprised he hasn't been given an offer yet?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
I think, ironically, beyond the result of this game for Liverpool, that is the bigger thing coming out of this than the 3 points, is that I'm surprised they haven't approached him with some sort of offer. It might have been less than what he was on before, because they might have gone, okay, you're getting a bit older, and they might have thought, well, the Saudi League's going to gazump us massively.
Well, that's the thing, the Saudi League, isn't it?
But
not every player not every player is an Ivan Toney or a Damari Gray.
Exactly, and that's my point, because he is coming across as if he is saying, I expect an offer by now, and it has not actually come through.
Yeah, you are.
Sorry, I lost you there again, Chris. But hopefully I'm back again now.
Yeah, it's the weather. I don't worry.
I just literally say that. Yeah. You carry on, mate. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Well, all I'm going to say, you won't want me to carry on, because I'm going to say, because I went for a 4-0 Liverpool win, and you went for a Desmond, which you actually.
I did. I wasn't far off.
You weren't far wrong,
Chris. I'm standing by this the entire weekend. I wasn't far off. I didn't get many points, but I wasn't far off in my logic on any of these.
You know what I said the other day? I said, listen to Steve Cooper's post-match press conferences. It's like he's just brought a tape along from last week and said, I'll play that again. I'm getting the same deja vu after every result here.
I've lived under Brendan Rodgers, my friend. I understand the media.
Fair point. Right, those are our 4 main games. We're going to run through the next ones very quickly, straight after this.
Hello, Matt Elliott here. Hi, Alan Smith here.
Hey guys, Ian Hume here.
Hi everybody, Jerry Taggart here.
Be sure to watch
Chris and Leicester Till I Die TV
for all the latest Leicester City news and information.
You can also subscribe on YouTube and various social media channels for the latest updates and news on Leicester City Football Club.
Come on, you foxes!
Wow, I nearly didn't do that. I'm just going to get another drink.
I was going to say, they're good lads you brought in there, mate. You know, I should interview 1 or 2 of them at one time.
Yeah, well, there are interviews. I can't get Matt Elliott; he doesn't like doing interviews. But all the other guys, I think I have done interviews with.
Man, tell Matt Elliott I used to live where he used to play football, because I used to live where the old Oxford United ground used to be. So we could have some stories about Headington. So
I will mention that to him. My biggest interview still though is Pontus Kamark. I think that was a brilliant interview.
Dude, the most underrated footballer of the O'Neill era. Like, so good.
Totally, 100%.
He was my favourite as a kid, Kmark was, yeah. Unbelievable.
And then you know what I said to him? I said, when we started the interview, I said, are you sitting comfortably or have you still got Ronaldinho in your pocket?
You still got Juninho in your pocket?
Juninho, that's it. Juninho in your pocket.
Yeah, because he completely killed it.
He turned around and he said, I haven't. He said, but he's locked in my bedroom. If you want me, I can get him for you. And I thought, fair play to you, mate. Fair play.
That's crazy, because that was my first ever football match, was that final.
Was it? Wow.
Yeah, my first ever Leicester game. My dad took me to that one in 97, yeah.
That was actually Pops and Kuhn and Vichai's first game, wasn't it, as well?
Isn't that bizarre? Yeah. We ended up in the Middlesbrough fans as 2 Leicester fans. Luckily, they were very polite because, my God, nowadays it wouldn't be so good. But
no. Oh, having said that, back then it was probably a little bit polite. It'd have been like that in the 70s. You'd have not got out alive.
I was going to say, I was 10 years old as a little kid with my dad. I'm pretty sure they weren't going to beat us up.
Fulham Wolves. I mean, fair play to Wolves. You know, we've dissed Gary O'Neill all season. Ipswich Town are not going to get rid of Ian McKenna. We know that. With results like that, I don't think Wolves will be getting rid of Gary O'Neill.
No, and it's funny, Chris, because it was more the post-match interview than the actual result, which showed me why I kind of get why they like him now, because I'm getting Pearson vibes from him for Bournemouth and for Wolves, in a way that he obviously sold them a story and delivered on it, and they fully believe in him. And by all accounts, the Wolves players believe in him, otherwise they wouldn't have gone and won 4-1 away at Fulham. It was a superb result. Honestly, they obviously believe in what they are trying to do. I still maintain if they lose Cunha, they're in massive, massive trouble, because he is the one-man show for them, and he's a sort of player I could see Chelsea or Liverpool in January going, let's chuck 75 million quid at them just to test them out. You know, we might be able to nick a really good player here, because he is that good. He's a top 6 Premier League, forward. He really is superb. But no, credit to Wolves. It was a randomly off day for Fulham. They hit the bar a couple of times and they might have done something different, but I think Wolves can be very satisfied with that. And I mean, as long as this keeps happening, I can see the O'Neill loving continuing, Chris.
Yeah, and well done to him. I mean, it's one game. Having said that, they've won 2 now, so they've won the same as us. They've lost 1 more. That's the only difference, to be honest with you. And you know what? Their goal difference is now -8, the same as us.
They also have more belief in what they're doing than we've ever had. I mean, irrelevant of the results they had to the point where we're now this week, in the previous weeks when we were questioning them, they were still knuckling down and still trying to do what they were doing. And you still saw they had a belief in what they were doing. And that has been why we're still here on a Monday without a manager at Leicester City Football Club, because we didn't have that.
I'm going to give you credit here, because you actually got the correct score just the wrong way round.
I did, yeah, I did. Do you know what? I'll tell you what it was. I just had a funny feeling Cunha might get injured, and it's all on him, mate. If Cunha's playing, Wolves can win. If he's not, they're going to get hammered.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I was absolutely nowhere near because I went 3-1 to Fulham. So, there we go. But yeah, well played. And this is the problem, and this will have a knock-on effect on Leicester, is that when Wolves were playing badly, and you could argue who they were playing, one way or the other, but now that they're starting to string some results together, that's dragging us back into it. And that's one of the reasons, which will come on to Cooper, as it says there at the end. But that's one of the reasons he had to go. Next up, it was a draw. It actually was a Desmond. But I didn't go for this one because I went 2-0 to Villa. But again, another case of a team below us fighting, and they were in the lead at one point.
It's so funny how you lead on from the Wolves game to this, Chris, because Crystal Palace literally played the Wolves game against Southampton exactly the same. The two goals they scored were counter-attacks from probably 3 or 4 passes, nothing more than that. And Villa were caught with their trousers down on a very rare day. Palace still have got to worry, because if that's all you're going to offer, then that is a problem. However, once again, I preface that by saying Eze's out. So when you're losing that sort of player who is the only one that can unlock a tight defence, which he could do, and maybe make them more competitive in games like this one, then it's a bit easier. But Villa have got to kind of get a bit more focus going here, because they're very good. They're very good at corners, but they've got a little bit sloppy in the transition, especially defensively. I don't know when it's happened, but the last few weeks they've kind of done a bit of a Forest. They've lost that bit of an edge they had, and they need to really refocus, because to go 1-0 down the way they did after 3 minutes was pretty appalling.
Yeah. Again, is their manager safe, do you think?
At Palace, no, I don't think so.
No, sorry. Yeah.
I was going to say, at Palace, I don't think it is. I'm going to say, actually, I'll say something about both of these situations. Unlike Forest, I'm going to say something controversial about Aston Villa. I wonder if Aston Villa have peaked. And what I mean by that is, I wonder if this is the best we're going to get, because they seem to now be slowly slipping backwards in a similar way to what happened at Arsenal with Emery. They started off well, looked very composed, were doing a certain system in the same way to this, and in the same way to us and Rodgers, it started losing its way a little bit. And I just see Villa now as a team that maybe might have been worked out, and they're going to have to find a new way forward and maybe a slight evolution. But with that being said, it's an unforgiving league, the Premier League. I appreciate the Palace manager's had injuries, but he's not got the amount of results so far to make me not consider he'd be the next guy out the door potentially, or the West Ham manager.
No. And of course, with Villa, great season they had last year, but as we know, the top 6 only let you in to the club every now and again. You can't always do it. Next game up on here, Bournemouth 1, Brighton 2. You went again for a Desmond.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, which I wasn't far off again, I think. I mean, it should have been a draw.
You can be as far off as you want, but unlike some of us, may I say, you weren't right. I mean, I happened to go for a 2-1 Brighton win.
I don't know, it's so difficult not to look smug at this point. Obviously.
Well, what can I say? I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, all I can say, Christian return, is Gary Lineker said it should have been a draw.
Well, I don't think Gary Lineker talks bollocks all the time. He thinks Carsley should be our new manager. So, I mean, if you're going to lay faith in that...
He also said Claudio Ranieri. Really?
Well, exactly.
So I don't know. But no, I get what your point is. No, it was always going to be one of those games, though, wasn't it? It was going to be either one team wins it by a goal or it's a draw. But both teams are going to have a go and show themselves off. And I think it was nothing hurting for either of them. Brighton now have the most points they've had in the Premier League season at this point to date, which is quite surprising, because I thought they'd actually done better in the past. So I think that should be the biggest pat on the back we give. But there's also a relevancy to Bournemouth, and they should have got a point, that, and they missed chances not to do so. So they'll be fine, though.
There's certainly worse teams than these two in the division. For Bournemouth, though, is it a case of mid-table, that's as good as it will ever get for them?
I'm going to say no, but that's because I'm a believer and I'm an idealist in a very pessimistic world. And that is because I believe in if they keep pushing what they want to do and believe in it, that they can achieve anything in the same way Leicester did.
Yeah.
Perhaps that's not realistic in the modern world. I don't know, Chris, but I still would like to. I still would like to believe in that. I think that's a crucial element of what we do as people. You believe in something, and it's beyond money. It's beyond this. It's important. So no, I don't. I think really. I mean, if they came 10th this year, it would be a great result. I do think they could come higher than that.
Yeah.
They should have a sign of it.
Why not? Why not?
Yeah,
Just
why
to say,
not?
10 minutes they've been playing now. It's Newcastle 0, West Ham United 0. My worry is that I'm not going to get any points there because I agreed with you and went 3-0 to Newcastle. I might as well just accept I'm not going to get anything.
I'll put it this way, mate. I wouldn't be surprised if we got a secondary sacking tomorrow morning. Anyhow.
No, exactly. This is why, for God's sake, pull your finger out, Top. Because West Ham, you could say, might be a bit more of a. Anyway, we'll come on to that, but could be a bit of a better.
Can you imagine West Ham go back to Moyes now and go, by the way, mate, we made a mistake. Do you want to come back?
Well, he might not be sacked because West Ham have just taken the lead. It's 1 Newcastle United 0, West Ham United 1. What a season this is going to be.
It is amazing. For all the talk and negative vibration about VAR, I will say something about the Premier League this season. Outside the top 3 or 2, it's been quite competitive. It really has, which is very encouraging for football generally.
Can I just say, though, that Dave's 5-1 to Newcastle is still on.
And very likely. Very likely.
Right, 0-0. Everton, Brentford. Should Everton have killed off Brentford?
They should have. It's one of those games for them in the same way, like I said about our Ipswich game. If they've dropped 2 points here, which send them down, they'll be absolutely livid about this at the end of the season. However, there is a composure about Everton. Unlike what we had with Cooper, there is a buy-in to what Dyche is doing. And consequently, they're doing it well. And consequently, it's another point. But they'll rack up a point next week and the week after. And they'll do it in the most crappy ways possible, but they will do it. And they probably could have won the game as well towards the end. I don't think it was a red card. I think it was so bitty. It's a 50-50 ball. Do we want it to be a contact sport or not? Even Pickford himself said post-interview it wasn't intentional. And if the goalkeeper's saying that, and Pickford's a man of integrity, I feel, and he will say it as it is. And he said, no, it's harsh, So I think, credit to Brentford for holding on for a point, which probably they could have got 3-4 if the referee hadn't been slightly one way more than the other.
Yeah.
It's close.
Well, Brad went 1-1, which was the closest. Oh no, Dave went 2-2. I am denying Dave a point there.
I can't remember what I went for. I went for Brentford win, didn't I? 3-1.
Just give him a point. You actually went 0-0. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. Sorry, no, you didn't. You went. Sorry, that was the actual score. You went 1-3 to Brentford.
I was going to say I had a feeling Brentford might turn on. It was one of those games I looked at and went, Brentford might turn on the style here and show they're really something to be reckoned with, and they didn't do it. So there you go.
So I apologise to Dave. I've knocked him. He's not in the league anyway, but I knocked him a point off. So I say none of us are doing very well here. And that is it. That was our last game. We haven't got
Man United.
Man United, yes. I've obviously must have left that one out. Let me just go back. I think because that was further up the.
I thought you were saving it for the end. I mean, I watched the entire game. It was very good. It was very good. And
there we go. We missed it. We missed it out. I had my clicking finger was too busy.
Or did we talk about it? It was so small. I've forgotten. I can't remember.
No, we didn't. We haven't mentioned it because I haven't ticked it off here. You went 2-1 to Ipswich.
I think I was right. It was very unlucky.
Well, you say that, but you went 2-1 to Ipswich, and I hate to do this.
I don't know, it's so difficult not to look smug at this point.
I say 1-1. I went. Amarin, first game in charge. I didn't think it was going to have that. Or he thought after about 2 minutes, he thought it was going to have.
Well, 1-1 was correct. Chris, my internet nearly I was going to say my internet nearly broke as from karma from what you were doing there. I think we were both right, mate. I think we were both in the same ballpark. I think you just got lucky on the day. Next week I'd get 2 points and you get 0.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. But well done, Ipswich.
Mate, they played really well. I mean, and this is the sticking point about what we've been saying about Leicester for a long time, right? Being a Leicester-based channel. Ipswich turn up irrelevant of the level of quality they've got, and they will give a shift in. And once again, they played positively. They were asleep for the first goal, and they really kicked themselves for it. But you could see it in how they performed on the pitch, literally seconds after they conceded the goal. Because from there, they were focused, they were driven, they played positively. They always played forward. They played a mixed game where they could play along the ground. They could also play it over the top. And to be honest, for a game that's meant to be all about Amarin and Man United, I came away from it going, Ipswich should have won that. And they really gave their fans a really nice night at Portman Road. And that's what it's about. And I think that's why I think they will stay up.
I hope they do, because I like stories like that. And even though Ed Sheeran wasn't exactly welcome on the post-match interviews afterwards.
No. I get Pearson vibes in a similar way we used to have at Leicester. I just look at it in the same way McKenna, and I go, it's a Pearson situation where everyone's on the same wavelength and everyone gets it and buys into it. So consequently, it's a great ride to be on.
Totally 100%. Been well played to them. It's still 1-0 West Ham, 15 minutes gone there. Right, those are all the games up to date. Obviously, we can't do the Newcastle-West Ham because that's playing now. I just wonder, can you think of anything else we could possibly talk about?
Ice hockey?
I think we should, straight after we come back.
Watch us on YouTube. Listen on your favourite podcast platform. Or ask your smart speaker to play the podcast Leicester Till I Die.
Subscribe, like, follow, and join in now.
There is so much to get through on this one that it's... Look, there's jokes all around and rumours go in this way and that way that you don't know what to believe. I'm going to start with this particular comment, though, that was up earlier on Talk Sport, and this has grown momentum. They understand that Leicester City's chairman had reservations about Cooper after appointing him in June. Yep. As I said, who the hell is running our club?
Well, it's interesting, Chris, because I was reading articles about this earlier myself to try and get to the bottom of this, because we've always had an opinion which has given a negative slant perhaps to our director of football, John Rudkin, that he has a lot of influence. And there is a feeling that, or there is noise. I'm going to call it noise because it's speculation. You never really know, but I call it noise because I don't want to be slanderous, but there's noise that Top is quite close to a former Premier League manager who he looks to for advice outside of the Leicester City corporate group. And that manager, I don't think advised him over the Cooper appointment, but might be advising him over the next one, which shows you maybe he listened to Rudkin and other people for the Cooper appointment. So I think what we are seeing now, and like I say, it's all noise, it's all speculation, but you read between the lines, you see smoke, and you assume you might want to call the fire brigade. And it's a situation where it very much looks like Top didn't want Cooper in the first place. He was persuaded into doing it from a position of perhaps potential security, like we've always debated, from what the system was going to be and how we were going to play football. And what has actually happened is Top has now gone, this has screwed me over. He was there at the stadium and he saw what happened in the game, saw the fans' reaction and went, I'm going to have to take control of this now. So I'm intrigued as to what comes next, Chris, as a consequence.
I mean, we had a big conversation, a show on, funnily enough, 2 hours before he sacked, saying that Cooper needs to grow a pair and take action. And then, of course, he went and grew a pair and took action. So thanks for watching the show, Top. But he's an owner who is based in another country. he's based in a country that is 11 hours, 12 hours away on by air for us. Yeah. Even if he's got his own, well, he has got his own private jet, of course, but he's got a huge company to look after in King Power. Yes, he's lost his dad, but he's also got a brother, mother, sister that are all helping him within the company. So it's not solely on his. And don't forget now, his brother is vice chairman, so he will have some input as well. Does he need? I mean, he's relying on Susan Whelan as chief executive. Who I think he knew before that he bought the club. So these aren't necessarily. She's not necessarily a football person. John Rudkin is, because he's worked his way up. Does he need to appoint a director of football?
It's difficult because I think he does. I think my problem is, to answer this question, I've got to remove some emotion from the situation. And my emotion from the situation is he lost his dad only a few years ago, and it feels like yesterday to me, and I'm sure a lot of Leicester fans still to this day, that it wasn't long ago it actually happened. I know it's been a lot of time in reality, but it's not been easy for Top, and he's taken a lot of flack, even in season when we got promoted from the Championship to the Premier League. He's taken a lot of flack. I think it's difficult for a man in his position to choose who his friends are and to choose who his confidants are. I don't think he's intentionally tried to get anything wrong. I think it says everything about the sacking of Cooper that we are here now talking about how we need a new manager, and Top made the decision in the way that perhaps Vishai would have done, God rest his soul, if he was still with us. So, yeah, I think you're right. There is a potential there to consider that as an option. But I also kind of feel, Chris, emotionally, for whatever reason, Top hasn't really stepped up. And not in a way where I'm being nasty to the bloke, but in a way that he's not been ready to step up. But perhaps what's happening now is his welcoming point to step up. So perhaps we need to give him that moment.
Yes, but...
Controversial, but I don't know.
What I want to say was, look, we've all been through these things, and it's a little bit like Harry and Diana. Is that he's saying that to do with the month. We get that, but Top isn't the first person to lose his dad in an accident.
No, it's true, but
how long do you go on for that? Do you, in 10 years' time, are we still saying, "Oh, you got to give Top"? Look at him; he's lost his dad. We all do, everybody loses a dad at some point.
We do, but can I suggest something quite interesting here? I'm a big fan of Robin Williams as a comedian. I was a big fan of Ayrton Senna, the racing driver. Both of them were idols of mine, and I still, ironically, even though I've never met them, I miss them as inspirational leaders being alive on this earth. And I think I miss Vishai in the same way, even though I never met the bloke. I can't imagine what that would be like extended to... It's a horrible thing to admit, but it is a scale of relativity irrelevant of emotion, because it depends on how much that person means to you. It's easy for us as outsiders to go, we didn't have an emotional involvement, but we still relatively felt something. I can imagine, bearing in mind what we felt as fans over Vichai's demise, which was awful. Sorry, the wrong word there, demise. That's awful. Sorry, the crash.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, sorry guys, I didn't mean to use that word. It was the wrong choice. But when you look at it like that, how I can only imagine what that would be like when you're left with a legacy that you've got to live up to as well, which is consequently very difficult if you're still quite a young man. He's my age, Chris, and I still at times, in comparison with you, for example, I look at you and go, you're a man who's probably got your stuff about yourself more than I have. I'm still learning. I'm still growing. I have ideas and I have vision.
That's your polite way of saying I'm old.
It's my polite way of saying, Chris, that I'm not as good of a person as I probably should be by now. Honestly, there's nothing to do with
none
you.
None of us ever are. And I've just realised, actually, the director of football is actually John Rudkin.
I was going to say to you, I thought that was the case.
But his boss is Andrew Neville, football operations director. What I'm saying, then maybe I'm taking the wrong title, if you like, job title, in as much as there should be somebody, maybe under Susan Whelan, but somebody that's maybe directly in contact with Top, that is a football man, that's been at other football clubs, knows what they're talking about. And they were saying this on TalkSport earlier, that there's a guy that's gone from Man United to Rangers. Now, as they said, I mean, I think it was Sam Jordan said, that's no, good to put on your CV, I mean, whatever's happened at Man United. But the thing of the matter is, he knows what he's talking about.
Well, exactly, yeah. And the point is that Rangers would have paid X amount of money to get that bloke because they respect his opinion. Yeah, I mean, I think it's difficult because I'm very much more as a person on the emotional side when it comes to our owners than the logical side, because I'd much prefer us to be a failure but have owners that were like me, who I generally felt actually loved the club. They might make mistakes, but they generally wanted to be there because they cared about it.
Yeah.
I prefer that than actually being run by, say, Saudi Arabia or, say, Qatar or Australia or whatever country would like to buy a football club next. I'd much prefer to be in the hands of that, irrelevant of results and consequences. But yeah, so it's a difficult one for me, Chris, that because I would like to be able to give you a more logical answer, actually, but I must be honest, my emotions override it, and I just want to support Top, and I want to say, look, I'm actually in this position right now. Bearing in mind what we're used to as Leicester City fans, I'm proud of him because what he did on Sunday was a bold step that his dad would have done, and it took balls to do it.
Very much so, very much so.
And I think he knew he got it wrong.
There is, and there is that. I mean, I went on guys on TalkSport earlier said to me like, who do you want to be your next manager? And I said, well, I'm the last person you should be asking because I wanted Steve Cooper. I said I put on so much weight with all that humble pie I've had to eat, you wouldn't believe it. But I didn't agree that because I'm always going to think about be careful what you wish for. It's good that he's made that decision now. He hasn't, and I did accuse him with Rodgers of being Nero, fiddling while Rome burned. Long over
and the Rodgers situation, Chris, was terrible. You're completely right. I lost a lot of respect for him over Rodgers. We waited way too long. But anyway, carry on.
Did. And to be honest with you, he's maybe got it right now, gone first before maybe the likes of possibly Southampton, Palace, West Ham. Possibly Wolves, I don't know, Everton, or get rid of their managers. We're in there first. Now, I asked all the presenters earlier, yourself included, who you all realistically wanted to come in and be manager. Now, I also had Ant and Jack on earlier. Yesterday.
I don't remember the word realistic, but okay. Was the word realistic in the question?
Yes.
Oh, in which case I should change my answer because I put
no, because I quite like your answer, but I will let you change it in a minute. But I'm going to say
no. I'm not going to change. I'm going to back it, Chris. But I didn't realise it was meant to. I thought it was meant to be if you could choose someone, who would you have? But anyway, carry on.
But I was hoping that people wouldn't go for Ancelotti again or Klopp or somebody that we were never going to get.
I told you, just chuck 20 million quid at Klopp, get him in.
Yeah, but it's the money we'd have to pay him after that. Not saying that he wouldn't be worth it, of course. But so there was Ant from Ant's Leicester fan channel, Jack from the Final Whistle, and then everybody, all the ones that sort of present on my channel. Basically, 10 of us there was. 4 managers.
Yeah.
That came out that had a vote in some description. Graham Potter.
Yeah.
Ruud van Nistelrooy.
Yeah.
David Moyes.
And the last one was me.
Jose Mourinho.
Yeah.
And it's not that stupid. I mean, all right, he may have been saying it tongue-in-cheek, but would Jose not like one last go at the Premier League and keeping Leicester up? All right, it's not exactly winning it, but it would be a bit of a feather in his cap, wouldn't it?
I tell you, my angle for this, Chris, is ultimately if he's daft enough to take the Tottenham job, he might be daft enough to take the Leicester job. Yes. I know that sounds a bit daft, but it is very apparent right now from where his life is. It is not particularly connecting with him, the job he's doing right now. Let's be
No.
frank. He's been quite vocal. He doesn't like the Turkish league and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
And it just so happened I was reading earlier today an article about how Top has identified X amount of money that we should be able to spend in January on new players. So I'm thinking, at this point, why not make a play for Mourinho? Why not go up to him and go, we can offer you this amount of money in January because we have a vision. We want to be in Europe. We want to be back where Brighton are because that's realistically where Top wants us.
Yeah.
We don't have to shy away from that. That is what we want. We might not be any good at getting it right now, but it's what we want. So in which case, maybe Mourinho might be persuaded by that and obviously a bit of money. We know where we stand with FFP now better than what we did a year ago. And by all accounts, Cooper was an appointment based on a lack of money. It's a Poundland appointment. And all of a sudden, we might be able to have Waitrose dreams. I don't know. That is the difficulty of it. Sorry, you lost me again. Yeah, my point is that's my point for Mourinho. My point is that I think we might be able to sell it to him. He might not take it. He might just tell us to go and do whatever.
Yeah.
But I don't see the harm in asking the question.
No, not at all. And look, he knows that he wouldn't be under. He could handle the pressure, like Ranieri did. He is very good at. And I always said this with Pearson. Pearson was a poor man's Mourinho. When he was accusing journalists of sticking their head in the sand, he was deflecting it off his team. Mourinho is very good at that.
Chris, I completely agree.
He knows that he could have possibly his last job before retirement, because if he keeps us up, then he would probably be the manager to take us forward. My worry is whether financially how that would turn out. But I asked the question yesterday on the Who Next show, and one of them was who they wanted, and the second one was should we break the bank to get the right person? They both said no. I'm of an opinion that we should break the bank.
See, I it's interesting, isn't it? Because ultimately your value is perceived by your result. Man United have just currently spent out a lot of money for a manager. It obviously would have cost them a fortune to buy him out of Sporting. I'm pretty sure Sporting were paying Amarin incredibly well, but they've made a decision. He is a worthwhile investment over, say, releasing Anthony on a free transfer who cost them 80-odd million quid or whatever it was. It's ridiculous, I think
we would never do that, would we?
I mean, hopefully not, unless maybe we do get sold someday. I don't know, Chris. I mean, I hope we don't.
I know. Tielemans, we didn't get anything back for him. Slimani. We've got a bit of a record there of losing money on signings.
I was going to say, in some ways, I think my head is still probably blacking out those 2 years where we completely messed up. We completely messed up the Brighton process of creating talent and selling players on for a profit. But no, I mean, the Mourinho thing, just to sweep it up, that would be my ideal appointment. I don't think it's a realistic one. I don't think it is. I don't think it will happen. If you want a realistic one, I would say the interesting thing is we've got 3 options, like I said briefly earlier. I'd probably lean towards.
Have we, though? I'm gonna before you hang yourself when you don't need to. That my point after next, because my next point is, I said earlier, Gary Lineker talks a load of bowls, and he does because he wants Carsley. But I've got to say, there's a hell of a lot of journalists have come out and said Lee Carsley. No.
I'll tell you what it is because he's obviously got on well with the press. And I'm sorry to make it that simple, but I think when you're a manager who's got a likability, let's not forget, Chris. Remember when we wanted to sack Brendan Rodgers? There was no one in the press who was even considering it. But we were like, this guy's completely, literally sleepwalking us to relegation, and he should have been sacked a year earlier. But he had the press so on side that it was completely bonkers to even question it. Which is insane. It's almost like it's almost gaslighting. It was that bad, but yeah. So yeah. Anyway,
not Carsley. We England youth managers. Yeah, I think we've just sort of got out of that one, haven't we? So you did
Mark
say
Robins over that. Mark Robins over that.
Well, he's in the betting. He's in the betting. But look, the 10 of us went for, apart from yourself, and I can totally understand why you went Mourinho. But the other 3 of us went, say, Potter, Ruud van Nistelrooy, and Moyes. Who do you think got the most votes?
I think the most votes was for Moyes.
Well, let me tell you this. And to be honest with you, I can't believe this, but Moyes got 3 votes.
Yeah. So that's not the most.
Potter got 3 votes.
Interesting. So we're going back for sloppy seconds. Okay.
Ruud van Nistelrooy got 3 votes. So we're none the wiser because
that's interesting. But doesn't that show you where we are as fans? We all got different ideas how we're going to fix this, you know.
Yes.
And I think Moyes is a more composed Cooper, to be realistic. But that's why I lean towards more. Let's be brave and maybe try and, like, you know, say to Jose, why not? You know, I mean, it's unlikely, but we're a team that plays better when Vardy's a bastard, and Mourinho would completely play into that.
Yes. I mean, the thing that worries me is this: the headlines, and I'm just going to go through. I've posted so much just recently. Anybody that follows us on Twitter and in the Facebook group will see I am literally bombarding every rumour out there because, look, we're fans. We want to know what these rumours are. Talk Sport: unlikely Graham Potter or David Moyes will replace Steve Cooper. That was, I think, about. I'm not sure what time that was, to be honest with you. It was. Does it show me on here? 1 hour ago.
It's unlikely.
Yeah, unlikely. Now,
that excites me. That means there's something interesting coming.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't think any of us know. I think the 2 weeks, when they would have replaced him, they were thinking, and they were maybe approaching people, and maybe they are in conversation with somebody.
Well, it's funny, Chris, you say that, because this is a reminder why this is the #1 Premier League review show you should come and watch every week. Because 2 weeks ago, what did I say heading into the international break? I said, I imagine this will be a time we'll be looking at replacements and see what's up. We might make a change. And what happened the previous week? We sacked the manager.
Yeah. And I think it was a weird decision because I don't think the Chelsea game was the game that would sack him because we were never going to win it, in all honesty. Having seen the previous 11 games, you were never going to win it. But maybe it was a case of, look, you know, no manager wants to say, I'll take the job while there's another manager in situ.
Yeah.
And maybe Top has been speaking, or whoever it was has been speaking to somebody and gone, do you know what, would you come in? No, not while you've got, you know, a manager. No, but if he wasn't to be here, yes, but don't sack him and then appoint me 30 minutes later. That looks a bit obvious, you know. The rumour, again, more rumours are that they want somebody in before Brentford.
Yeah.
I mean, looking at that, I am warming towards Potter, and I went for Ruud van Nistelrooy, to be honest with you. I did go towards Potter. I know I've said many times, how often do you ask a girl out before it becomes stalking? The rumours is that Top can't ring him now because Cooper's got a restraining order on him. But, yeah, there's rumours that he's not going to take it. Look, he waited for, I think, Man United. He waited
for the England job. He waited for England, yeah.
Neither of those came. Does he still sit and wait and see how Tuchel gets on because he's obviously only got a limited contract? I don't think so, because I think then he's completely out of it. This is now, and if he doesn't take us, he's going to have to take Palace, Everton, whichever one of those was to come up next. If he wants to manage in the Premier League, he doesn't mean he may want to go abroad. Who knows?
Yeah. I think I know the answer. I think he's the next West Ham manager.
That wouldn't surprise me, like I say. Unfortunately, I do think West Ham are the more attractive proposition at the moment.
I think it's nothing to do with size of club. I think it's to do with the fact it's based in London. And I think the fact of the matter is he's managed in London previously. He's probably based close to the area. I think he'll view that as a big fan base, you know, which is bigger than Brighton, bigger than Leicester, because obviously they've got a World Cup winner amongst their ranks in, you know, probably more. I think he'll look at West Ham as his main proposition. And by the way he's taken jobs on so far or interviews, it seems very much like he's held out for the top job, not got it, and then ruined the rest of them underneath that he could have got.
The rumours were why he didn't get it in the summer was that he wanted to bring his own like director of football or
yes,
people like that, transfer people in, and we said no. So look, we know the only thing is we do know that Top loves him absolutely.
And also,
So-
we've got these great facilities now, Chris. I mean, why would you spend all this money on a brand new training centre where you could really boost your youth academy? And he probably is the best manager on the market right now to make that happen.
Yeah. Moyes has been linked with another club other than Leicester.
Yeah.
And that's Everton.
Yeah, which I said about 3 or 4 weeks ago. I said Everton might want to go quick and go in for Moyes.
If only you were as good at your score predictions, your management predictions.
I think it's this, Chris. I think I say a lot of S words in my life, and I think people have said I'm a guy who chats a lot of S to people that will listen. So consequently, I say so much stuff. I've probably said all of it, and I could just pick out a certain point at a certain time. I think it's literally all it is. But no, I did say I think if Everton were going to make a move, it's best to move for Moyes early because I think the romanticised nature of it would keep them up.
It is. He was one of the three I wanted back in the summer.
I considered him, yeah.
With Corberon, with Cooper, and with Moyes.
Yeah.
I have to say, I know Cooper's in there. He wasn't my top choice. I did want Moyes back then. I think what Moyes gives you, look, he kept West Ham. I don't think West Ham are going to go back for him. I think to go back a third time, he could hold them to ransom. He really, really could.
They wouldn't do it. They wouldn't.
And I think there's only so often you can go back. And they offered him a contract back end, I think, during the summer, just before the back end of last year. I think they offered him a contract. He was saying on a podcast, he wasn't quite happy with it. Went on. I think they lost something like the next 3 or 4 games, and the board withdrew the offer. Yeah. So I don't think he's going to go back to West Ham. But look, he kept West Ham up twice. First time they sacked him, then they brought him back for a second time. At the end of that, they kept him on. He got them into Europe, and I think I wouldn't complain if we got Moyes. I'll tell you why I've gone for Ruud van Nistelrooy.
Yeah, tell me that. Yeah,
he has got. Look, sometimes you have to take a punt on somebody.
Yeah, like Xavi Alonso at Leverkusen.
Yeah, yes. Like us, we go back to Martin O'Neill. Who the hell had heard of Martin O'Neill?
Not me.
And then we replaced him with somebody everybody had heard of because he was, believe it or not, an England under-21 manager, and Peter Taylor. And oh my God, yes. Quickly moving on. Sorry about that.
Leicester City 1, Bolton Wanderers 5.
Yeah. Oh, I remember that. That.
Me too. Yeah, sure.
I remember exactly where I was. But we have got to make sure, like I said with my Chitty Chitty Bang Bang reference, we cannot afford to get relegated this season. The EFL are waiting for us with open arms, and they will absolutely roast us. So it's more important that we stay up. So if we are going to take a gamble, and whether that could be another European manager, but it has to be somebody with top flight experience. So top flight, not a Bundesliga 2 manager, no disrespect, Scott, not a League to the manager. It has to be somebody with top management experience. Ruud van Nistelrooy has that with PSV.
Yeah, well, I think he does, but I think the problem is, Chris, is that you're kind of talking yourself into a Moyes appointment because everything you're saying is going to lead to Van Nistelrooy.
But what I'm saying is, I don't think Moyes will come to us.
I think he would.
Because I think he will go. I think he will want the Everton job because of the romance and the history, the new stadium. I mean, have you seen that stadium?
Yeah, I have, but also but also in a similar notion, I don't think Dyche is going to get a sack because I don't think he's doing a bad enough job. I think he's doing enough to keep himself in a job. I think he's fine.
I mean, Ruud van Nistelrooy allegedly was offered the Coventry job,
which is crazy to me.
But he's turned that down because he wants a top flight. And to be honest with you, he's got nothing to prove. He's not a Frank Lampard or a Steven Gerrard or even a Wayne Rooney. He's got nothing to prove. When he took over Man United, they didn't lose under him. All right, 2 of the 3 or 4 games was against Leicester. So he says it all, really. But again, if he comes to Leicester now, and Leicester get relegated, it won't be on his head because he would say, look, my first manager's job in the Premier League, and look where they were when I took them over. With Moyes and with Potter, they will both be expected to keep us up. I'm not saying that Ruud van Nistelrooy won't, but if Moyes gets us relegated, well, he didn't do his, where I think Ruud van Nistelrooy might look at that and think, do you know what? And I think he's got a bit like Company when he took Burnley down. I think he's got that sort of. I think he'd get another job. So, I just think, do you know when it was how? Do you go back to last summer?
Yeah,
and just got promoted, and we were all going like, 17 points. What happened to that sort of thing?
Yeah.
But we got over the line. We were champions. We've now, and I love saying this, got more second tier trophies than Manchester City.
Yeah, history.
And we were all unhappy. And then Enzo, let me take you back. Sorry, I'll take you back even further than that. Sorry, the season before.
Yeah.
Because we were happy last season. The season before that, we just got relegated.
Yeah, under Dean Smith, yeah.
Yeah. We'd had Pierce, what am I saying? We'd had Rodgers in, like you said, we slept walk. We all saw what was happening.
Yeah. We saw it a year before it happened, and it happened,
yeah. We all it was one of those, like, why didn't anybody else see it? We could see it. Dean Smith came in because it was left so late, so we didn't have any real other choices. And we got relegated. How bad were we feeling at that point?
Mate, it was awful.
Awful, exactly. We were all saying, who are we going to get in? I was saying McKenna, Robbins, or, whatever. Everybody's banned. Nobody mentioned Enzo. Enzo came in, and everybody was like, what the fuck? This guy 6 days ago was holding the Champions League trophy. This guy is a Pep disciple, and he's walking into Leicester to be our manager. And our sort of dismay at getting relegated suddenly boomed up there, and that's what I think Van Nistelrooy would bring to Leicester if he came.
I was saying this to you about when we looked at how he handled himself as Manchester United's interim manager, wasn't I? I said he had an aura about him.
Yes,
I said he had a very good aura about him in how he handled himself. And I think that is a very good indication. If you compare it to Steve Cooper, it's night and day. It's a 1 versus a 10 in favour of Van Nistelrooy. And there's a lot to be said for that, because that is a good starting point with some good coaches around you to lead on to something. So I'm very keen for Van Nistelrooy. I am. I wasn't at the start of the season until we got to this point. And I've kind of checked myself and gone, we're better off gambling on something that might support players more in the Fatua, Mavadidi, El Khanous, Bonete, support those players more to make them better versions of themselves, as be able to affect the result in a more positive way, which we've not seen so far. And that's kind of the point, isn't it? And like I said, I briefly mentioned Xabi Alonso. I mean, ultimately, when Xabi Alonso went into Leverkusen, he was expected to do nothing, but he had a vision. There's another one, Thiago Motta, who's now manager of Juventus, who both of these managers are doing things that are completely different to the norm. So maybe we should gamble, and maybe we should try. We might get relegated, but, it's on the cards anyway, right?
Exactly. And like I say, for me, I don't think Ruud van Nistelrooy is... Yes, he's a gamble, but tell me who isn't going to be a gamble. Nobody that we sign... If Alex Ferguson came in now, I mean, look, everybody says about Ian Holloway, what a bad manager he was. He got Blackpool to the Premier League. He wasn't a bad manager, but he came in at the wrong time. Exactly. Nobody could have... Red Adair, if you're old enough to remember who Red Adair is, could not have saved us that season. And I just think if Moyes comes in, we'd all go, yeah, that's not a, that's a reasonable...
Here's the challenging thing, though, Chris. If Moyes came in and we got relegated by 1 point, I think we'd all be kicking ourselves if we turned down Van Nistelrooy.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing, isn't it?
So maybe we should just be brave about this and just go frig it. If we go down, we go down. Let's just go for someone completely different.
That's the thing. Obviously the question is how attractive are we to these three managers?
Oh, mate, look at our training facility. Huge.
It is, but we could have the best training facility in League Two. if we're not careful. Do you know what I'm saying?
Maybe, no, I know what you're saying, mate, but I think we underestimate the facilities we've got a little bit. And we're not like Sunderland. We're not in the middle of nowhere. We're a couple of hours from London, so people want to go out for a couple of cocktails in Soho. They can.
Yeah.
You know, so
no, Craig on
we're
here is always going down to London. You know,
exactly.
I just think Ruud van Nistelrooy. I think you say Moyes, we take him on and we go, yeah, okay, he could keep us up. He could do a job. Ruud van Nistelrooy would be another Enzo.
We might end up like West Ham fans by the summer. We might be like, well, we stayed up, but we want a new manager now because we want to expand. So maybe we should just get on and expand now anyway.
Well, exactly. And Ruud van Nistelrooy, or I'll throw this one out, and I'm conscious of the time. I know you've probably got somewhere to be that is better than spending the evening with me.
Maybe I'll pee a bit, but yeah.
Do we though then maybe go for a manager, which possibly Cooper fitted this role? If we get relegated, he could bring us back up.
I wouldn't worry about that until it happens. I mean, because I see what you're saying there. What you're saying is let's go for Mark Robins now, which I completely agree with because I like Mark Robins as a person. He's obviously someone who's played for Leicester at a time in my life when I was coming into Leicester, so I remember him very fondly. But this is a completely different kettle of fish from building a championship team for 3 or 4 years to getting touching distance in the Premier League to keeping a team in a Premier League. It's completely different. It really
and
is.
Let's be honest. If we go down, we know we're going to get a points deduction.
Yeah, at that point, we're better off going down the Enzo route again and trying something different, like what Southampton did with Russell Martin. Ironically, I was going to say it's about Southampton. If they do go down, they might as well stick with Martin because I think they'll probably walk it back up again.
Yes. No, totally.
Yeah.
Very quickly, last couple of points. We are and this is what we sold, I think, to Enzo. And you could argue, I think Top has got to be honest with whichever manager comes in. Yeah. And I think they look at Rodgers and go, well, he wasn't honest with Rodgers, and he wasn't when it came to that transfer window. He probably, by the sound of it, wasn't honest with Enzo, as much as Enzo spoke very nicely of him. And so Top's got to go out there and be honest. But I think you've got to go, like you say, it's a project, this Leicester job. We're starting from scratch. We know we came in 10 years ago and we went on and won it, blah, blah, blah. That was then. This is now. We've got to start from scratch. And whoever comes in has got to look at this as a 5, 6, 7-year project. And Moyes that man? I'm not sure. Potter possibly. Ruud van Nistelrooy definitely.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with that, mate. I think the interesting thing to note is that we should take from this weekend and what has happened is, I think respect to Top, because I think Top has finally, for lack of a better term, got his balls out and done something, which is kind of what people have been suggesting for a while is what has been needed. So no, I'm really happy with what's happened there. I'm excited about whatever happens, which I think is an important thing because I think facing what we were facing wasn't exciting. It was completely going to go one way, which was relegation, and it might have been on the last day by 1 point, but it would have been so tragic in how we got the journey to get there, because that's life, isn't it? Life's not about the end destination, it's about the journey. This is why Ipswich are still enjoying it right now. So I just really hope we can bring someone in who can inspire that.
I got more excited at the watch over at Ndidi being taken off than the scoring the penalty.
Yeah, which shows you how jaded we've become.
Exactly. And I think, I could say, I'm getting excited out of the fact that it might be Ruud van Nistelrooy. Who knows? The latest one to be linked with us is Michael Carrick has told Leicester City what they want to hear as next manager search advances.
See, I heard about Carrick as a last minute thing. I mean, I must be honest, I don't have enough knowledge to have a good opinion, but all I can see is that he's exactly the same as Mark Robins. He's doing exactly the same kind of thing at Middlesbrough that he does happening at Coventry, so he must be decent.
I'm sure he is decent, but my worry is he's only been there a season and a half.
Yeah.
I mean, he hasn't got the experience that any of those others we mentioned has. And can I just say, when you look at, there's a lot of things going out about players partying and what have you.
Yes, in Copenhagen this weekend.
Yeah. And I just think it was very unfortunate. And apparently, I have been told by a very reliable source that it wasn't actually the players that put that sign up.
No, it wasn't. No, it was someone in the crowd. I'll say this. I'm actually glad you brought this up, Chris, because I think this is something that I've taken a bit of flack for from my fellow football fans today. I don't actually think it's a problem they went out to piss up on Saturday night. And I'll tell you why. Because ultimately, it's something which can be a two-way street. It doesn't look good when you're near the bottom of the league, of course, but it still could be something that will lift you into be doing better. Sam Allardyce has done it for years of his teams. He's gone in there, taken them to Dubai. It's not really been about the training. It's been about the piss up in the pub afterwards and getting to know each other. So ultimately, and let's be real, we hate to say this, we kind of have more trust in Vardy than Cooper.
We did, and again, you wonder whether these or the
I have no problem with it.
Did I don't know. No, not at all. It's all about morale and team building. And if the players have got to the point of like, well, do you know what? We're all peed off. I mean, why shouldn't they have a Christmas party?
Yeah, the only thing you can debate is maybe they should do it in a private function where there's no exterior cameras that are going to capture them with signs saying this, and that, and and then the media can sensation. But there's always
David Coote well knows you can't avoid cameras. That's the thing.
This is why we should make a big deal out of it, because ultimately, we've had work dues, a year at our work where it's been a terrible year, but you've still gone to the work do.
But the thing is, it's giving you that kind of boost, hasn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
It shows the club is still, supportive of the players. Like I say, interesting to see whether the fact that Top went into the dressing room after Chelsea and spoke to the players. Don't know how that would happen because Cooper would be there.
I think it happened before, by all accounts.
Well, again, yes. And I have to say, all right, everybody keeps saying it's Vardy. Vardy's always having the player revolts. Vardy does not run the football club.
No, but also we trust Vardy's judgment.
And Vardy is the club captain.
And he cares about Leicester.
Yeah. And as that, his responsibility is to say, excuse me, Mr. Chairman, who he gets on really, really well with. Let's be honest, he has a good relationship with him. Top trusts him and his opinion. And, he would go, excuse me, Mr. Chairman, you need to really have a look at this. The players are completely dejected. Indeed, he doesn't know. He's walking in and pulling a cracker every week to see what position he's going to be playing in. Wout Faes needs a haircut because he can't see where the ball is half the time. But that is what a good captain does. It's not just about being on the pitch.
Yeah, and it's kind of different with Vardy because, let's be realistic about this, Vardy is someone who has turned down major money moves to bigger clubs in name the Leicester City Football Club, and he has stayed with us because his heart means more to him. His integrity means more to him. And I think when you see those qualities in a person, irrelevant if they're a manager or just a football player or the captain of your football team, you're more likely to follow them. Because they've led by example. I have no problem with backing Jamie Vardy's perspective. There was a lot of this when Claudio got sacked, and I had no problem with it because actually I agreed because he was saying things that we all were seeing. So I understand it's difficult. I would challenge the manager that comes in to be capable of lifting that group and managing that group because unfortunately the reality is Steve Cooper wouldn't have got sacked if he could have done that.
No, we wouldn't have wanted him sacked.
No, exactly. No, you froze there, mate. That was your fault.
Sorry, a lot of people have been saying on the radio, I mean, I just want to slap some people. Simon Jordan, although he'd probably knock my teeth out, but I really want to, I love him to bits. I love the way that he says it as it is and what have you. But look, he was not welcomed at the club because he was with Forest.
No. Chris, I'll say this, you're entirely right. I mean, there is a narrative in the press, which I was surprised Simon Jordan actually backed. I was surprised by his comments. He surprised me. it's almost like you're Leicester City, accept your position. And I'm sorry, I live in a world where I believe in the way of you have the ability to do what you want as long as you put the work in and you care enough about it. You should not be limited by these thought processes of because you are not Morgan and Stanley, because you are not BT, because you're not the BBC. Many other companies available, as you know, because you're not McDonald's, big companies. I'm trying to make a point here. Because you're that, you should have no right to achieve. And that was his angle. And actually, I was disgusted by him because I thought he was a man who had more logical sense than that. He's not an emotional man, he's a logical man. But as an emotional man, I would say do not underestimate the ability of emotion to achieve things, because Leicester City, our football club, won a Premier League based on that.
Yes. And a lot of these people, when they're saying that, and I got asked this on Talk Sport earlier, I'm going to name drop again, but the guy said to me, was this because of the Forest connection? I went, well, Martin O'Neill had more connection with Nottingham Forest than Cooper ever did. All right, it took him a while to win us over, but he did. Certainly within 12 games, he'd won us over. Where's Morgan? Has got more of a link with Forest than Cooper. So that didn't bother. He's a Welshman. He's got no connection with it. Was just a job to him. So no, because if he'd have got us in and we'd have been fifth in the tables, we'd have been where Bournemouth or Brighton are now, we'd have all loved him. It's just that we were watching absolutely shite football.
Absolutely. And unfortunately for us, we've been conditioned as Leicester City fans to understand what playing good means and what playing bad means, because we've seen the consequences of both. And I think the thing which we should give ourselves pats on the back for as fans is we are very good at identifying when we're in a low position in the table, but when we're playing well, versus when we're in a low position in the table and we're playing bad. So I think it's all well and good, all these other fans throwing shade at us when they do the same thing. It's stones and glass houses, and ultimately we're entitled to feel as we want about our football club as much as we want to be. And I want our football club to be successful. We saw it wasn't going to be a success, and I'm very, very happy the board act.
Yes. Just to very quickly round this up now, last few comments. I've got to say, I've lost them. Where are we? We're here. Michael says players' power not right. I don't think it's player power. I think it's just a case of players being able to say what they think. It's like any job. I've been a team leader. I've been a manager of a sales team. That doesn't mean that my staff have not got the right to go to my boss if they think if I'm doing something wrong. They have got that right to do that. So I don't think we can say that it's player power at all. Vardy apparently in trouble with the comments he made to Saturday's referee. Look, he's the captain. He's allowed to make comments. In fact, because he's the captain, that's what makes him allowed to be. And so what if he is, good? Because the referee, he was bad in parts, And then Georgie is in as well. I do, mate. Right, I'm going to have to let you go because otherwise you'll be coming to bed with me. So thank you very much, Tom.
My pleasure, mate. Thank you for having me. I'm sorry about the random disconnects. We've had awful weather, as you know.
I'm sorry for keeping you so long, but I just love talking football, and I love this show going through everything.
Me too, mate. No.
We've obviously had a lot more to talk about this week because it's been sacked. Can I just say still leading?
I was going to say thank you to everyone for sticking with us. Award of the week goes to Top for sacking Cooper. So this will be the new award of the week going forward. This week it goes to Top of Leicester City Football Club.
I'm glad that is going to be good. I'm going to have to do a thing. Send me a message on Facebook what you did, and we'll have a weekly
do the Tom
award.
Award every week on a Monday for something that really attracts my attention. And this week it will be down for Top. For doing the
Tom
right
Award.
decision. Tom Award on a Monday.
Tom Award. I like that. We're going to go with that, and Top gets the first one. Guys, do join us tomorrow at 11 o'clock on this channel. I know it's early, but you try and get anybody that's related to Leicester on at the moment, and it's bloody impossible. It is, and I know I've got Laurel and Hardy up there, but look, it's a bit of fun. Top and Steve. There's another fine mess you've got me into. We will be welcoming Rob Tanner, from The Athletic, great Leicester fan. Well, he's he's followed Leicester since the Mercury days, and he will be telling us what is going on at this club of ours. And
very good journalist as well, Rob.
He is an excellent journalist.
Superb journalist, generally.
And we're back with Chatting City tomorrow at 7, which we'll probably be talking more about Cooper and managers. What else is there to talk about? Tom, look after yourself, mate. All the best. And guess what match you're following next week?
I haven't looked at the schedule yet, so I have no idea, mate. What am I watching?
We've talked about it already.
Man, lots happened in 24 hours, dude. Seriously.
Manchester City, Liverpool.
Oh, yeah. No, I didn't know that was on. Yeah. I was going to watch it anyway, so I didn't know you... Yeah, that's fine.
I think we've got to go with that one as our second match, haven't we?
We have. Let's make a bold prediction now before we leave. What's your bold prediction on the spot? Go for it. Quickly.
How often do we go and say that Manchester City are going to turn it around?
Exactly my point. That's what I'm thinking.
I'm going to go. I think it will be tight. I'm actually going to go 2-1 Liverpool at the moment.
I'm going to go 2-2. Last minute equaliser, Man City.
Oh, you like your 2-2s?
I do. And I like being one goal out because it will blatantly be right and I have to defend myself next week. So we look forward to that. We look forward to that on the Weekend Review Show, ladies and gentlemen.
Both of us will be wrong. It'll be something like 5-0.
Yes. Cheers, mate.
Take care, Tom. I'll let you go. Cheers, buddy.
Cheers,
all the best. Take care. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Thanks very much to Tom there. Really appreciate him coming on and talking. The Tom Award. We are going to do that. Right. And I say, please join me tomorrow morning at the earlier time. Well, it's not early, but it's early for us, 11 a.m. And we'll be talking to Rob Tanner. Thanks very much, everybody, for being in the chat. Really do appreciate it. Scott for modding. Mike is in there as well. Thanks to Miss Melina and thanks to Doug for sending in their video reports. Their links are in the description below. Like, subscribe, click that notification bell. And if you're feeling generous, it all helps. Subscribe and become a member. It's only $1.99 a month. Everything else is free. I will see you then. Take care. Good night. And I've just got to get the right button to press. See you tomorrow.
Thanks for watching. These videos are tremendous. You better like them too, or I'll be back.
This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.
That will conclude this evening's entertainment.